Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 13, overall 398 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. As always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. Brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, May 10th, 2024. I'm feeling better. I've been battling a cold the last couple days. Had about 15 hours sleep yesterday, around 15 hours, and I do feel better. I still got a bit of a cold, but I should be good to go to Buffalo next Saturday for Game 2 of the NL Finals between the Albany Firewolves and the Buffalo Bandits, which takes place next Friday night, Game 1 in Albany at 7 o'clock, and then Game 2 next Saturday night in Buffalo at 7:30. And if there's a Game 3, it'll be Saturday, May 25th. Saturday, May 25th at 5 p.m. at Albany's MVP Arena. I believe they call that as well. Guys, unfortunately, some more bad news. I guess who was supposed to come on last night, Lee Newton, wanted to reschedule for tonight at 8 o'clock, and I guess she's still having some issues with her internet connection at home. I guess they had a power outage there in South Carolina the last couple days, so it doesn't look like Lee's going to be coming on tonight. I'm going to try again in the future to get her back on the show, but since she's not coming on tonight, we're going to play another edition of the best of Live with CDP Sports Talk, and we're going to do an episode for March 19th, 2024 with former Philadelphia Eagles tight end Jason Dunn and former Kansas City Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn, and I hope you guys enjoy this show, and we'll talk to you guys in a little bit after this rerun episode airs, and I'm going to play it right now, and it's courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, Live with CDP Sports Talk. Hit the subscribe and like notification, and we're going to play my episode with Jason Dunn from March 19th, 2024, and best of CDP.
Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 49, overall 379 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on radio stations WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, and now on CKRT Border City Radio in Windsor, weeknights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. as well. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. And I'm excited to have my guest today. This will be his first time on my show. And this will be my first former Philadelphia Eagle on my show as well. His name is Jason Dunn. He's a former 12-year NFL veteran tight end who was drafted by the Eagles in the second round of the 96 draft out of Eastern Kentucky University. And then he spent his remaining years from 2000 to 2007 with the Kansas City Chiefs. And Jason is also the co-host and founder of the Chief Concerns podcast, a weekly podcast show about the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm excited to have Jason Dunn on today and talk a little football with him.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm looking at your Eagles hat. I got my Kansas City hat on, so I'm wondering if I should turn my hat around backwards or, and even then to get to Kansas City. But, I'll leave it as it is. I just want people to know that I'm still an Eagle fan, and Eagle is my first love, my first heart, being there, coming up there in the city of brotherly love. So to look at this Kansas City, I look at its ties of having Andy Reid, Kansas City, Philadelphia. That's where I look at it, right? So city of brotherly love, this is what we do. So how's it going, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing good here, and I'm excited because the Canadian Football League will be starting up their training camp in May. I do media work for the Toronto Argonauts, and then after the CFL starts up, July NFL training camp starts. So football is not that far away, and I'm excited about what the Eagles have done so far in the offseason. And I really think this Eagles team next year hopefully can get back to the Super Bowl after they kind of had a bit of a disappointing end to this season.
Yeah, I do too, man. They've been making some moves that have been in the past couple of years that have been setting them up for success. And to be able to get guys in there, it's always shocking to me, to be honest with you. First off, because I'm wondering how they're getting all this money. I'm just like, they got to be able to cap at some point, with all the new additions they've been having, what they got last year, but also too this year. And then, of course, with the guys that they got in the certain positions, I think is going to be probably in their favor without a doubt. I think they're the favorites to win in the NFC East. They were last year with me, the same. And so they're continuing their dominance with the type of the moves they make. Chris, can you believe this? I mean, this is incredible just watching this team form.
Well, I'll tell you, the person that turned the franchise around, a huge part of it, and I'm always going to be a fan of his, is Andy Reid. I think he did such a great job in Philadelphia for 14 years, and then obviously coming to Kansas City and winning 3 Super Bowls. Hall of Fame coach. He's had such a huge impact on the Philadelphia Eagles franchise and now the Kansas City Chiefs franchise.
Absolutely. I mean, and Andy is synonymous with, Philadelphia, taking them to the Super Bowl several times, making it to the big dance. And Andy's loved in that town, no doubt about it. But he's a great coach. What do you say? He comes from Philadelphia, taking the team to the Super Bowl, going to Kansas City, taking the team to the Super Bowl and actually winning it. But a lot of those guys, he brought a lot of dudes from Philly with him to kind of continue on with what his success was, right? And so just hats off for him for his success, really.
There's a lot of connections between the Eagles and the Chiefs too, by the way. Dick Vermeil, obviously Andy Reid, and then the Kelsey brothers, and then yourself as well.
Oh, yeah. Sean Barber is another guy. John Welborn is another one I can think of, like leaving from Philadelphia, going to Kansas City. Remember, they had Shady McCoy leave from out there from Philadelphia, found his way back to Kansas City under Andy Reid. So there is a lot of connection. There is a lot of connection there with Kansas City and Philadelphia, no doubt about it.
Hey, just quick questions on Steve Spagnuolo. How great of a defensive coordinator is this guy? And do you see him being a head coach again, or is he more comfortable doing what he's doing?
First off, he's been brilliant as a defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, he was brilliant up there when he was with New York for some time. I know his stint with as a head coach didn't quite go as what he thought it was going to go. But I think he might be comfortable where he's at right now. I think he might have had some bites to become a head coach after the season was over. And that's why the Kansas City Chiefs went ahead and restructured his contract. They gave him a new contract, and rightfully so. He earned every bit of it. But you can see what he's been able to do with these young guys out there. And we have a very young defense in Kansas City right now. And a lot of that is the success is off the back of Steve and his schemes that have been put together for these guys to go out there and actually to strive, really.
In terms of this Chiefs Super Bowl, do you feel this might have been the best coaching job Andy Reid and the coaching staff, Steve Spagnuolo, did? And do you feel this Chiefs defense can even be better next year? And the one thing I'm amazed about the Chiefs organization is when you win championships, Jason, in any sport, it's hard to keep players and the coaching staff together because everybody's going to want to take those people away. But it seems like the Kansas City Chiefs organization seems to be able to keep everybody in place.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough business, because once you become a winner, everybody wants the formula, right? And so this being, like I said, a young defense, Steve did a masterful job putting these young guys together, putting them in a position to be successful. And a lot of that had to deal with what you said, Andy wise. So is that Andy's and Steve's best coaching? I you know what? I've never thought about that, Chris. I have never really thought that's a great question. And I might have to say yes, to be honest with you, because first off, you have one of the best offenses used to be, at least I would say, had been dominant under Patrick Mahomes and his reign. But then all of a sudden you had a lot of, some of the mistakes, some of the deficiencies that you didn't quite see on the offense. And so the defense had to carry the game. So it wasn't quite used to that. It was always Patrick Mahomes and his show and the offense. Well, then all of a sudden when you had a lot of drops from the wide receivers, the offense really doing what they usually do, the defense had to carry the entire game. And Steve Spagnuolo, like I said, because of his brilliance, he put together a masterful plan week after week, taking one of the best young corners in the game in L'Jarius Sneed and just lined him up man on man with your best receiver every single game. And not to mention a guy that we just re-signed to a long-term deal, Chris Jones, which went down because of obviously the retirement of Aaron Donald. Chris Jones is the best defensive tackle in football. And so I think this is, without a doubt, probably one of the best coaching deals that these guys have been able to put together, especially to win this Super Bowl. Because it was more difficult, right? Level of difficulty absolutely went up. Absolutely went up.
Because all I heard around here is all the Chiefs and Mahomes have had it easy, always playing at Arrowhead, never having to go on the road. Well, this year they had to go to Buffalo, they had to go to Baltimore, and you had to this championship. I think out of the four the Chiefs have won in their history, I think might have been the hardest one to win, playing 4 games and 3 of them away from Arrowhead.
Yeah, I think sometimes the notion of the Chiefs having it easy is just outrageous to me. Obviously when you win, you want to win and be at home the entire time. So they kept saying, well, the narrative is Patrick Mahomes never won on the road. Okay, well, fine. You know what? Let's go to Buffalo. Well, Buffalo's not going to beat him. Josh Allen, this is his year. Go up there, take care of that. Then we go to the Ravens. Oh, Lamar Jackson, MVP season. These guys making the Super Bowl. They did not give the Chiefs a chance. And guess what? Chiefs come out of that in the Ravens flock and win there. And then we go to what we like to call now the AFC, the Kansas City West, which is, in Las Vegas, and win in their stadium. So it was a tough road. We didn't quite get the calls that everybody thought we were getting. The whole Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce saga that everybody wanted to kind of dump on. Like all those things I think kind of helped in our favor. And these guys, they really went through a lot of adversity to get to where they were and to win the Super Bowl, man. So I think they earned every little thing on it. They didn't really get a lot of help from anybody else. But the things that Patrick Mahomes wanted to prove, I think he proved it this past year.
And if it wasn't for a Cincinnati rally a couple of years ago, the Chiefs could have gone to 5 straight Super Bowls. And to me, right now, this team is a dynasty. And I feel if they can stay healthy and still keep that hunger next year, but you just never know with the injuries in football, Jason. I think the Chiefs have a very good chance of 3-peating. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that? And is Steve going to be back with the Chiefs?
Yeah, yes, he definitely is, and I do believe that these guys are in a prime position to three-peat. We just now acquired Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown from Arizona, a very speedy, fast wide receiver, almost in the same vein of like Andy Reid had up there with Deshaun Jackson. Okay, a guy that can take the top off the defense, can stretch the field, run any route that you possibly want him to run. And he's actually going to have a really legit quarterback. Not that he didn't have it in Lamar Jackson, but when he got to Arizona, there was guys that was hurt. Kyler Murray was hurt during the time. So he had other guys that was throwing to him. So no consistency there. But I think this year coming up, the Chiefs are still the favorite because they really hadn't any. If you look at them during free agency, they acquired two guys, Hollywood Brown and Irv Smith Jr. That was it. That's it. Everybody else is intact. And I know there's been a lot of speculation as far as what's going to happen with L'Jarius Sneed. Obviously the Titans and the Colts are looking after it, to see if he can get a long-term contract. We don't quite know. But the main thing that we wanted to do was get our number one guy on defense short for a long time, and we've done that at Chris Jones. So I think it is in their favor. I would say in the AFC, the Chiefs are on their side, I'm probably winning it. And on the East side, I'm always going to say on the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be the other team. I love that. I just love when, obviously a guy who played for the Philadelphia and Kansas City, having that Super Bowl, it was a win-win situation for me.
For me, it was tough because I really love the Chiefs. I respect them and Andy Reid, obviously, and Travis Kelce. But as for the Eagles, they lost a couple key guys this year too. Obviously, Jason Kelce, who's a Hall of Fame center, and Fletcher Cox. So those guys are not going to be easy to replace. Two legends like those guys.
It's not. But what I do know about Howie's going to find somebody in the draft, probably address it. They got everything else around them. They got wide receivers, the guards and the tackles are solid as ever. The defense is going to be something that I think is going to be, it's going to be a heavy hitter for people to contend with. But Jason Kelce, you're right, man. It's hard to replace a guy, a Hall of Fame career, to make the impact that he did. If you could just get, I don't know, Chris, 50% of that, 75% of what Jason Kelce gave, you should be fine. So,
any rumors about Travis Kelce retiring, or do you think you see him playing for a couple more years?
I do. I see Travis probably playing for at least 2 more years. You have it for at least 2 more. And just seeing Jason kind of retire, and Jason will tell him, he's going to let him know, like, look, man, maybe retirement is what I thought I was cracked up to be. But Travis, I do believe, is still relatively young, still relatively healthy, and he enjoys the game. He's still passionate about it. And so he says so in the interview that he's going to be there for a couple of more years. I know for a fact that he's definitely going to look for this three-peat. If he doesn't get it this year, he's going to look for the following year to probably make it as well. So arguably one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. Doesn't mind solidifying his legacy with a couple more years playing in the NFL.
Thoughts on Irv Smith Jr. and also getting Brown from the Cardinals? And do you see Brown being a number 2 receiver? And thoughts on the young rookie Rice as well?
I do. I kind of in Andy's system. I don't want to call it like one of your typical systems where you do have a number 1, number 2. The good thing about him and Patrick Mahomes is he likes to distribute the football to everybody, whoever's open. Now, I always say this, that his number 1 receiver is always going to be Travis Kelce, okay? He's a tight end. But then, of course, Rashid Rice, who was able to come out and absolutely just show what he can do, all his possibilities, is going to probably be working to be like that prototypical number 1 wide receiver. But Marquise Brown, we know he's going to catch 70, 80 balls with Patrick Mahomes. And I think the reason he took the 1-year deal is because he was hoping to get a whole lot of volume thrown his way. So we'll have to see how everything is going to work out. But I know Rashid Rice, Marquise Brown are the 2 guys that's going to be the number 1, number 2, however you want to rate them for the Chiefs this year.
All right. That gets to my next question. overall assessment on this Chiefs playoff run with wins over Miami and minus 30 temperatures at Buffalo, Baltimore, and then being a very good San Francisco 49er team. And again, trailing by 10 points. And I think Mahomes is 3 Super Bowl rings. Every game he's trailed by 10 points at some point into the game.
Yeah, and this is, I think, is the Patrick Mahomes effect. This is where he's good at, his magic, if you will. That he didn't get rattled. He's one of those guys that is just calm, cool, and collective in every situation. And he's shown it in his playoff run. He really did. And so you had to start out with Miami and Tyreek Hill coming to Kansas City. Thank God it was in the cold weather, right? Because, fast guys kind of get negated the speed of it, especially in the cold weather. And like I said, we talked about the defense doing a masterful job against Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Jerry Sneed did an amazing job. Tua wasn't as effective as we thought he was going to be. And so they went ahead and dismantled them. Buffalo run was going to be a little bit more tougher. And we knew because of Josh Allen and his propensity to take off running, it's going to be hard to stop him, keep him in the pocket. But our guys showed up. Our guys started making plays. And, of course, they were talking about Travis Kelce slowing down. Well, he just showed you why he was one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. And he went up there and had a great game against them, Rashee Rice as well. A young guy that we haven't quite talked about yet, Isaiah Pacheco, the running back.
Yes.
Okay, Isaiah Pacheco is an incredible guy that gives you a lot of spark. That's what, this offense this past year through this playoff run was sparked by Isaiah Pacheco. And so he runs hard, he runs angry. He does the piston run with his legs. Everybody talks about. But I think his productivity during the playoffs was one of the things that brought the Kansas City offense over top. Going to Baltimore, we know Baltimore is going to be a hard game to win. But you know what? Lamar Jackson is somebody that you have to corral. And I think they did a great job of that. They talk about going around from the running game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But when you go up, Patrick and those just jumped on them out early. Forced them guys to throw the football. And I think it to their detriment, probably helped them more. And then, of course, they talk about San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. That game in itself, man, was all the way down to the wire, got to the end, and then we had to go into overtime. Now, we could talk about the overtime rules and how they thought about it, where they didn't know anything about it. But this is, we talked about the magic of Patrick Mahomes again, coming out and just winning. And Andy Reid calling a masterful game. I mean, this is what he's good at the time of just getting the ball in the hands of guys. Corn Dog, I think, was maybe the play call he called it, where he scored with McCall Harmon in the corner. So he's just a brilliant guy, man, just calling games. But this is the Super Bowl run that they needed to have, really.
Hey, Jason, I wanted to get your thoughts since they had it on here. Thoughts on them, San Francisco taking the ball first in overtime. I thought it worked out better for Kansas City, in my opinion.
It did. And people are on either side of this argument, Chris, to be honest with you. I didn't mind it because if you think about it, if San Fran takes the ball and they score, now you put the pressure on Kansas City that had to go down and score a touchdown to stay with you. Now, if they don't do that, then, the game's over, right? You kick a field, it's not going to be enough. So I'm not really upset or question the call of taking the ball in first. But Kansas City, if you don't score the touchdown, you kick the field goal, and they got down to knocking on the door. They almost scored, knocking on the door, kick the field goal. Patrick Mahomes was like, look, all we need to do is get down in a position to win the game. Then he's going to take it over. That's exactly what Patrick Mahomes did. He put it on his back, put it on his legs. He started getting yards, throwing the football, and just methodically start dismantling the San Fran defense. But, yeah, man, the overtime rules is overtime rules, whatever it is. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know them. I didn't know they changed it. So they're not the only ones. San Fran's not the only ones that didn't know they changed it. I didn't know they changed it because I explained it to my daughter when she was asking me overtime rules. I was like, well, no, look, if this happens, then – the game is over if they score first. Well, I was wrong. I didn't know. I had no idea. And thank God they didn't score first because I was nervous that they was going to do it. But no. So, yeah, they pulled it out. They pulled it out.
And San Francisco's had some great teams the last 10 years and have been in 3 Super Bowls. And it just shows you championships are usually decided by 1 or 2 plays. And that's what happened again in this Super Bowl. And San Francisco's got a great team as long with Kansas City. But in terms of all great teams, where do you rank this Chiefs latest Super Bowl run up there with all great teams?
Oh, wow. This run in itself, like I said before, with the level of difficulty, with all the distractions and adversity throughout the entire season that you had to deal with, that nobody gave us a chance, nobody gave us a shot. It has to be at least in the top 10, right? I mean, there's a lot of history in the NFL, but this run in itself has to be a top 10 run for any team. And so I'm just being generous with the 10. It could be a top 5, for what the guys had to come through. But like I said, Patrick Mahomes and those guys have just been setting records, setting history for what they've been doing. Hopefully this will be the first team that gets the three-peat. We'll have to see. We'll see how everything's going to work itself out during the offseason, going into the season, like you said, hoping that everybody's staying healthy, away from injuries too, right? So
I got to ask you this: having a chance to three-peat, do you feel Andy Reid and the coaching staff can get the guys to focus on this, because there's going to be even more distractions with this football team going into the 2024 season?
Yeah, that's a very good question. If anybody can focus anyone up, I think Andy Reid does a good job of doing that. He has an unbelievable way of communicating to the players about kind of the main thing is the main thing. Don't get too high, get too low about any game. When you go in, you make sure that we just take care of what we need to take care of. That's it. Don't have to do more than we ask you to do, but make sure you go in, keep your focus on what we have to do to win the football game. And there's no better coach that you would want in that position than an Andy Reid. The only other guy I think that may be right up there with Andy was Bill Belichick, as far as keeping guys focused, keeping guys humble, keeping guys, modest in what they're doing and their success. But he has a great staff with Spagnuolo. I also believe Spags doing a great job of letting those guys, what is required of those guys, especially mentally going into a game. So, yeah, I think Andy's going to be able to carry those guys over just because of the guy that he is, the coach that he is, to get them to a victory, the three-peat.
Just quick thoughts on Bill Belichick, and do you see him ever coaching again in the National Football League at some point?
I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think this might have been Bill's last hurrah, just for the simple fact that, you have more of a youth movement coming on now in the coaching, and Belichick has a different style. And so sometimes the writing's on a wall and you want a guy to go out successfully. But I think when him and Tom Brady broke up, that little, relationship might have put him at a disadvantage. But Bill, his legacy is cemented in the NFL. Nobody's going to be able to change that. One of the greatest coaches ever, if not the best coach, arguably, what people will say. But I do think that his time in the NFL is done. I think, at this moment, he's getting in his 70s. If he's not 70 now, close to it. I think he's like 68 or something. Hey, enjoy your time. You have all these Super Bowls. You've cemented as one of the best coaches ever in the game, right? Take your time, enjoy your family, enjoy your time. Sit back. If you want to be involved in maybe upper management, sure, that makes a lot more sense, right? Sort of like Pete Carroll did. But as far as coaching, I think that time is done with Bill.
And as for Andy Reid, you see him continuing to coach for a few more years. And do you find that Andy's kind of changed his coaching style a little bit over the years, coming from Philadelphia to Kansas City as well, to relate to the players even more?
I think I have. I actually had Andy when he first got up into Philadelphia, and you could tell he was just trying to learn all the ropes of everything as being a head coach. And sometimes that transition to getting younger players means you got to, make concessions for younger guys, the thought process, right? And he does a great job of that. I think he has a timeless coaching style, because what he does is he actually listens to his players. Okay, as crazy as that sounds, he actually listens to the players. And he gets the best out of them because he can relate. He played the game. He can talk to them in a language that they understand as far as like, hey, look, I'm on your side. I'm on your team. We can do all these things together. Not to mention, he hires an incredible staff around him, okay, which a lot of the guys that he hires are like former players. So when you have guys that play the game who are speaking your language, that can talk to you about, hey, man, this is the things that we need to do to be successful. Andy does that and conveys that message really, really well. But I think Andy will be a head coach as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, I think for at least another 3 years, at least another 3.
By the way, here's a little fun fact about Patrick Mahomes. I'm a Detroit Tigers fan, and they drafted him in 2014. And it'd be interesting to see if Mahomes and Tom Brady, who was drafted by the Montreal Expos, would have been good Major League Baseball players.
I think Patrick Mahomes definitely had that in his blood, obviously from his father. Thank God both of these guys decided to play football as opposed to baseball. I know that's a little bit hard to track, but it would have been interesting. It'd have been interesting. I didn't know that about Tom Brady. I had no idea he got you said drafted by the
Montreal Expos in 1995 as a catcher.
Wow. That's incredible. Hey, and I'm an Expos fan. A lot of people don't remember the Montreal Expos. This younger generation, they don't even know them. I had a vintage hat that I was wearing. Somebody's like, who was that? I'm like, the Expos. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I realized this is a younger guy. He just don't know who the Expos are, you know? So, no. Go ahead.
Ironically, my first 2 Expos games I ever saw were in July of '84 between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Expos at my favorite stadium, Veterans Stadium.
Oh, Vet Stadium, huh? Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thoughts on that stadium and how bad that turf was.
Oh my goodness. I tell you what, when I first got up there, I remember walking out there on the stadium and seeing the turf, and it felt like concrete. It literally looked like it was like green carpet on concrete. And I'm like, is this where we're playing at? He's like, yeah, this is it. Well, you know, like you said, the baseball games would be up there. You had, I think it was the pitcher's mound, okay, during the game would stick up about like an inch or 2 out of the ground. And guys had to get over top of it. I mean, it was something else. Not to mention there was another guy that was wide receiver, played for the Bears. I can't think of his name right now. Blew off both ACLs running down the field. Nobody touched him. He was just running down the field, tore his knees up. So when we're talking about a place that was absolutely, first off, it was an icon, but number 2, it was probably one of the worst stadiums in the league, you know, successfully over the years. I don't remember that I think it was an Army-Navy game. And the front stands that the fans were on caved. And the people fell on the floor, you know, of the stadium. And it was just like week after week, it was something bad going on. And they imploded that place. And I'm glad they did. I mean, it was something else, man. I mean, you talking about jail at the stadium that would have a judge and a jury, that people would have fights and they bring the people down, and they would go ahead and arraign them right there at that moment. Their stadium, craziest place ever. But one of my Philly favorites, the Vet Stadium, man. When I'm telling you, Philly, that is a Philly flavor right there, man. Old Vet Stadium.
Do you have 5 more minutes, Jason? 5 more minutes? Couple more minutes?
Yeah, I got 5 more. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, and I want to do a quick shout out to my friend Patrick Pierce for arranging this. He's been a friend of mine for 3 years, and he's been one of my biggest supporters. And I want to say thank you to Patrick Pierce, and happy birthday to Patrick yesterday as well for doing this. Patrick's one of the nicest guys.
Well, thank you, Patrick. He got in contact with me, and I was more than happy to do this, man. But happy birthday, Patrick. You know, you see this. Happy birthday, brother.
Absolutely. Hey, with the Eagles, just quick thoughts on Jeffrey Lurie, who bought the team, I think, a couple years before you were drafted there, and Merle Reese. And you played with a rookie in '96 that was just drafted behind you, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Just wanted your thoughts on Brian Dawkins, and did you realize how special this player was back in '96?
Yeah, so I'll start with Jeffrey first. You brought him up. Jeffrey was a guy that was he always had a smile on his face, come down, shake the players' hands. Very ecstatic owner of the team, and you just seen how the city started to embrace him. I didn't quite know too much about Jeffrey at the time, but over the years, we've seen that was probably one of the best investments ever. Because everybody was talking about how much he overpaid for the team and whatnot, and then you see exactly the type of the owner he had been, and the investment really paid off to the Eagles being what it is today. And then you talk about Merle Reese. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. You're talking about the voice of Philadelphia. Merle Reese is a guy that always ingratiated me into the culture, the things that were happening. Just a wonderful guy, wonderful human being, and everything that he did. And his voice in itself would soothing feelings when every time you hear Maurice. But incredible person. And did I know Brian Dawkins? We used to call him Baby Boy. Brian Dawkins. Did I know he was going to be that good? Absolutely, 100% yes. That's my guy right there. Brian Dawkins, a huge man of faith. One of the best athletes I've seen, one of the hardest hitter safeties I've ever known. Would scare everybody running over the middle, whoever caught the football. And so his work ethic just showed up in a game to make him to where you see today as a Hall of Fame safety. But Brian Dawkins, and just an incredible person, incredible husband and father. He was just an incredible teammate. My hat goes off to him and his career, but I definitely knew that Brian Dawkins was going to be a special guy, no doubt about it.
And what did you thought of the fan base in Philadelphia?
Oh, city of brotherly love. When I think about the fan base out in Philly, I loved it. I loved it. It was a little tough because they would talk about you when I would go home and you hear it on the radio and stuff, and I was just like, we're the home team. And so they would say some not so nice things about the team that they were rooting for, but you knew they were fanatics. You knew that they loved their guys. And I would always go down South Philly, any part of Philadelphia, and they would love upon me. And everywhere I went, I always got love. Still got love from Philadelphia. And I've always loved just the fans out there. Great fans in the NFL. I think they get a lot of flack because of some of the things you hear about them. But to me, Philly fans are right up there with everybody else in the NFL, man. I enjoy the fans tremendously. Got a lot of friends still up that way, man. They're a little hard on their base, but they're loyal to they're loyal to everybody and their teams, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Hey, Jason, when you were a tight end, you prided yourself on being a great blocking tight end. When you were growing up and learning the game of football, who were some of your mentors or idols that played in the NFL or college football that you wanted to try to emulate your game after?
Well, when I started in college, I actually played outside linebacker as defensive end, moved over to tight end at my third year. And then when I got drafted with Philly, but some of the guys that I emulated and the guys that I love looking up to and seeing, one was Walter Payton. Walter Payton was one of my favorites, without a doubt. Just seeing what he was able to do, how he carried himself. He was a star to me. He was just a star. And then we talk about Reggie White. Reggie White is another guy that I just love seeing out there, the way he was able to play the game. And I actually was able to play against Reggie my rookie year.
Wow.
You talk about somebody who was starstruck. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I absolutely a fan. And I think I called him Mr. White after one play, shook his head and called him Mr. White. So it wasn't a Reggie or anybody else. It was Mr. White to me. And so those two guys I know for me was the two top dogs that I always watched. Okay. Those are the two guys I always watched. But, I was also a big, baseball fan, basketball fan. So when I think of football wise, emulating, I always just wanted to kind of be the best. And so Dr. J was another guy from Philly that I loved back in the day. Huge Dr. J fan. Huge Dr. J fan. But yeah, man, these guys I talk about, I think a lot of kids just love. And not only just what they showed on the field, but also off the field, show their character a lot. And that's what we need more in the sport, more character people, to be honest with you.
Question for you. Who I think I know the answer, but who do you find is the best all-around blocking tight end in the National Football League? Obviously Travis Kelce, but are there some others out there that you really like their games?
You talking about now?
Yes.
If I had to say blocking tight ends now, Kittle comes to mind. He does a tremendous job. The guy in Pittsburgh does a wonderful job too. Let me see. I'm trying to think who else does a really good job. We just got one in Irv Smith. Irv Smith could block. He does a good job. Obviously, Mercedes Lewis, Mr. Thomas. He's a guy that's been, folding up defensive end and linebackers for years to come. I don't even know if he's going to be playing this year or not, but I think he's probably on year 18, something like that, if not more. But those guys, I know for a fact, do a tremendous job of blocking. I would say that's probably one of those arts that has lost. Travis Kelce, to me, showed a lot about his blocking this past year. He loved getting his nose dirty, grinding it up, mixing up with guys. And so I think people don't talk about that part of his game enough. But he does a good job being blocking too.
Do you feel tight ends should be paid like wide receivers for the work they do?
Absolutely. 100%. Or at least it should be that big of a discrepancy in what their pay is, right? So you're looking at wide receivers getting 30 million, tight ends getting more like 14, 15 million. To me, it's just crazy. Especially when you start seeing guys like, Laporta, Hawkinson, my man Andrews, Travis Kelce. Like, you can't have a successful offense without having a good tight end. Okay? You just can't. And these guys are catching 80 balls a year, 80 to 100 balls a year. You should pay the guys like their production, right? That's how I look at it, Chris. If they're producing that many catches, they should get paid for those many catches. And so you're paying these wide receivers an exorbitant amount of money. Tight ends should be able to get somewhere close to that at least, I think, in pay.
Have you ever thought about in the next few years writing your book about your career and about tight ends and how valuable they are to an offense?
Oh, man. I've had people come to me and ask me about writing a book. And it hadn't really hit me yet to do that. And I'm just like, I don't know if as far as there's going to be a market for it, but you know what? I may have to really explore that a little bit more. The thing is, I don't know quite what to say. If I want to do it more, just kind of a biography, or if we want to talk, like you said, tight ends and how important it is to the game, that may be something I might be willing to do, Chris. It might be something that people might want to read.
Definitely. And thoughts on Rob Gronkowski and where do you rate him in the old-time great tight ends? Obviously, Tony Gonzalez to me is one of the greatest, if not the greatest. But in terms of greatness, where do you rank Gronk?
Gronk has to be probably my top 5 guys. Definitely in the top 10, no doubt, of all time. There's been a lot of great tight ends out there, but Gronk, just for his sheer dominance, probably has to be in the top 5 for me. So this is how I go for my rank, okay? I always say Tony because of his longevity, 17-year career. Obviously, it wasn't really a passing league, but what he was able to do, get double and triple team. I have Tony as number 1. Travis is right there with him at number 2. Number 3 probably has to be Kellen Winslow, or even I had to say maybe Shannon Sharp. Okay, they're right there with one another, and Gronk is probably in that conversation. It's 5th or 4th, if, at least for me, and then it's everybody else after that. And it's good tight ends in that category, just to name those guys. So.
And Buffalo's got a good tight end in Dalton Kincaid. I think he's going to be good for many years. And Sam Laporta. Iowa seems to be one of the better schools for developing tight ends because George Kittle came from there as well.
that is, to me, tight end university. A big old patch of hair. I'm just like, geez, this is a grown man with kids. He bring his kids out to the game. And I was just like, this is a family. This is a grown man. And that's probably the biggest transition from going from college to going in, and now you're blocking grown men, So that's probably the hardest transition.
And also the speed of the game too, I imagine.
Speed of the game, yeah, absolutely. But when we talk about the physical part of it, is something that either you got or you don't. You're either going to sink or swim with the physicality of the game. And that goes into the longevity of it as well. So the speed is something that you adjust. It takes some time to get to adjusting to. But after you start figuring out, like, okay, I played football all my life. This is something I can do. Everything, you start reacting to things a different way. So that takes some time. But the physicality of it, getting hit in the mouth every single day is a whole different thing, man. If you're not used to that, and like I said, getting beat up from bigger guys and stuff, then you're not going to last it very long in the NFL.
Okay. And Jason, we'll wrap this up. I just wanted to bring this up here. How did you come about starting up your weekly Kansas City Chiefs podcast, the Chief Concerns, with Marcus Dash and Eric Warfield?
Yeah, so my co-host, Marcus Dash, who's just an incredible guy all the way around, good people. Marcus reached out for me to do one of these, like interview, just like this, talking about the Chiefs. And I did an interview with Marcus, and I think he did an interview with Eric at a different time. And then Marcus just reached out and said, hey, man, what do you think about doing a podcast with me? And at the time, I'd never really entertained it. And I said, you know what? This would be pretty fun. And so here it has been, I think, 2 years, and we've been carrying this thing, Chiefs Concerns, to where it is today, having a great following. Eric Warfield, who was with us, who's not on the show anymore, but he still gives some input on some things, still, a part of it as far as, still giving his support. Love Eric to death. Played with Eric for 7 years. That's one of my brothers, man. Like I said, love him to death. So we talk consistently, probably every single day on Texas. But that's how we came about coming to Chiefs Concerns, is having to talk about some football and Chiefs with former players. And I think nobody does it better than we do, coming out there on the podcast. We just look for more people to come out there to really see what we can do, man. We really start giving some good stuff out. And we engage with our fans. That's another thing. We engage with people coming in, commenting. We talk to them. But we really have a very, very good following, a very loyal fan base. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy doing it with Marcus every week. Did it with Eric too. And I'm just looking to grow, Chris, every single episode.
I'm subscribed now, and I listened to your latest episode yesterday about tight ends. I thought it was great. And I guess you record once or twice a week approximately?
We do. So we do Mondays and Wednesdays. And then we had to do something, like if something special comes out, we'll get up on the pod and start talking a little bit, running the mouth somewhat. But we do it Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And so come and see us. Come out, and if you got some people want to come and check out a new podcast, by all means, come out and check us out. We enjoy to have you. Come in and join the family, man. Come and join the family.
And what is it on? Can you just tell my audience a little bit about your volunteer work and starting up Dunn for Kids Foundation and your work with the Salvation Army, and how can people help out if they're in the Kansas City area watching this?
Yeah, Done for Kids Foundation is something I started with my family a number of years, about 2003, and was just kind of to address, having kids deep benefit from having good manners, doing some wonderful things out there, character building. But I started with my family here in the state of Kentucky, and I just took it out there to Kansas City. And I was one of the spokespersons for the Salvation Army, giving out scholarships, monies to military families, widows of those, and the kids. So we've been doing Done for Kids for, what is that? 20 years. 20 years. I think that we just got finished giving some money to some of the flood victims in Kentucky from last year to be able to help out. And so our motto is being better people together. That's what it is, becoming better people together. And so if you want to be able to help out Done for Kids Foundation, you can come check us out at the Greater Kansas City Foundation. Look us up, put in Done for Kids Foundation. If you want to give money, your time, any of those things are always helpful. But more so, what you can do personally is when you see kids, you make sure that you're giving them a good smile, giving them encouragement, and help them with the blueprint of life. What it means to be a young person in this world and how to become a better person. And I think we do that by showing them the character that we're supposed to be in, or how we're supposed to be, by loving people the way that we're supposed to love them. How God demands us to love people in those ways. So that's what you got.
And do you have a website for Done for Kids Foundation website?
So it's going through the Greater Kansas City Foundation. You can go through for the Done for Kids Foundation. So
okay. And finally, Jason, where can my audience, if you're on social media, can they follow you on social media?
You can follow me on social media, Twitter. I think it's Jason89, Jason's TD89, something like that. Just look up Jason D Dunn, and you can check me out. Obviously, I'm on Instagram as well. I think J Dungeon Dog is my Twitter or Instagram handle, and I think I'm on TikTok, but I don't quite my TikTok. I'm still trying to figure those things out. I'm not as on TikTok as much, but Instagram and Twitter is the one that you can find me probably the most on those. So
okay. Well, and I'm on TikTok too now. I joined it 3 years ago, and I'm in a new career at 52, and I'm just trying to prove to people that age is just a number. And TikTok can be a great tool. Hey, Jason, I'm going to let you go. I want to say thank you so much for coming on here today, and to Patrick Pierce for arranging this. And you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future and maybe talk a little more about the Kansas City Chiefs and your football career and your coaching career as well.
Oh, well, Chris, man, I thank you for your graciousness, man, and extending your hospitality. Thank Patrick for me if he's listening to this. Thank you, Patrick, for hooking us both up. So two guys can get out here and just talk some ball, talk some shop. But I do appreciate that, Chris. Same as well, man. Please come to our show and join anytime, brother. Love to have you. All right.
Definitely. And I need to get back to Kansas City. The last time I was there in 2015, there was a tornado and a flood. Oh. And I did get to see Arrowhead Stadium, but I didn't get to go in there. And I'm hoping to get back to Kansas City at some point in the near future, and even attend a Chiefs game, as long as they're not playing the Eagles.
Well, awesome, man, awesome. It may be a good game though. With the Eagles, be a great game out there.
It's a great rivalry, and hopefully, maybe next year, fingers crossed, Philly and Kansas City can do part 2 of the Super Bowl.
There you go.
All right, Jason. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Have a great rest of the day, and I'm looking forward to listening to your shows going forward now.
All right, Chris. Appreciate it, my brother. You do the same now. All right, take care. And thank you again.
Thanks, Jason.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Sorry, guys, I forgot to put myself back on here. That was the best of Live with CDP Sports Talk from March 19th, 2024, with former Philadelphia Eagle, Kansas City tight end Jason Dunn, who is now a podcast host of the Chief Concerns podcast. So I'm hoping to have Jason Dunn on my show again, and I hope you enjoyed the best of Live with CDP tonight as well. Speaking of Live with CDP Sports Talk, my next show live is going to come Monday, May 13th. Monday, May 13th. Okay, guys, just 1 second. The next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, is going to be Monday, May 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern time change with my guest, Brendan Glasheen, ESPN play-by-play announcer for the National Lacrosse League. Brandon's going to come on, and we're going to preview the NL final matchup between the Buffalo Bandits and the Albany Firewolves starting next week. And Brandon's also a radio personality on 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston, and he's also the play-by-play announcer for the G League's Maine Celtics as well. But I'm looking forward to Brendan Glasheen coming on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, and I'm working on more guests for next week as well. For those that are watching this show, watching live stream on audio, and that are mothers, I want to wish everybody happy Mother's Day this Sunday, May 12th, including my mom, Noreen. And I want to wish happy Mother's Day to my cousin Terry in Taylor, Michigan. And today is Terry's birthday as well. So Terry's had a busy weekend with her 43rd anniversary with my cousin Mike yesterday, her birthday today. And I just want to say, wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day this Sunday, May 12th as well. Also, guys, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. If you're looking to volunteer or you're looking to adopt your forever pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society, and there's dogs available such as Clifford, Cleo, Alpine, Rosemary, and you can check out the website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And right now they're doing a 50-50 monthly draw for the Cambridge Humane Society and their shelter programs. You can get more information by visiting their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org or pop by at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And I really enjoy volunteering there. And they do a really great job in caring for our forever furry friends at the Cambridge Humane Society. As always, guys, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And make sure you follow me on Instagram at Chris Palme. And speaking of Chris Palme, check out cameo.com, type in Chris Palme. And if you're looking for a personalized video message from yours truly, I'd be happy to make one for you. And the proceeds from my Cameo videos will go to my radio and media show as well. So again, check out my Chris Palme on cameo.com. Also, guys, you can check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or check out their website at barrycullen.com, or Call them at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. And did you know Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership is the #1 electric car sales in Ontario as well? And Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been family owned and operated here in Guelph since 1969. Great products, great customer service. Again, check out barrycullen.com or drop by the dealership in the Guelph Auto Mall at 905 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph. Guys, you can also follow this content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP and check out my latest player and coaches interviews from last weekend's Bandits 10-8 win over the Toronto Rock. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these audio platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. And there's going to be some changes in the next few weeks. My show will no longer be available on Google Podcasts, but my show will be available on YouTube Music coming soon. So make sure you check out Live with CDP Sports Talk on YouTube Music coming very soon. Finally, guys, excuse me, guys, I've been battling a cold for the last couple of days. I am feeling better, but I picked up a cold a couple of days ago, and hopefully I'll have it gone in the next few days. But again, guys, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpame19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, any feedback, positive, negative, would be great, as I'm trying to improve my show all the time. And I've also learned how to do air reruns of my shows as well. So tonight's episode again was the best of Live with CDP Sports Talk with guest Jason Dunn, former NFL tight end with the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs. Check out his podcast called Chief Concerns about the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's on all the major platforms like YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. And that's about it for tonight, guys. Again, I'm hoping to reschedule with my guest Lee Newton, the Nashville recording star. We'll see what happens in the future with that. But again, my next Live with CDP Sports Talk brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and on WQEE 99.1 FM, Monday, May 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern with my guest Brandon Glasheen, ESPN play-by-play announcer for the National Lacrosse League. So if you're a huge fan of lacrosse or box lacrosse, which is indoor lacrosse, check out Live with CDP Sports Talk this Monday at night at 9 p.m. as well. And I'm hoping to have another guest on from the National Lacrosse League next week as well to talk about the finals between the Firewolves and the Buffalo Bandits. And I'm looking forward to being at Game 2 on Saturday, May 18th at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo. If you're in this area and you want to go to Game 2 in Buffalo, you can get your tickets at bandits.com. Bandits.com, and you can check out the National Lacrosse League website at nll.com. Guys, before we go, I'm going to just give you some hockey updates. You have Florida over Boston 3-0 after the second period. Looks like Florida's going to take a 2-1 lead in that series unless Boston can come back and rally from 3-0 against the very good Florida team. And the other game tonight is Edmonton and Vancouver at 10 o'clock. And then we have one baseball score. Once again, the Tigers were up 2-1 late in the game, and their bullpen just gave up a whole bunch of runs to Houston. So Houston 5, Detroit 2 in the bottom of the ninth. The Tigers are probably going to drop to 20-20. The Tigers are not that great of a team, and their bullpen has not been very good. Their offense is not very good. I think the Tigers are still a little bit away. They are improved, but I think they're still quite a ways away from being a division winner or a playoff team as well. Again, I apologize for my coughing. I'm just battling a cold, so hopefully it'll be gone soon. NBA playoffs tonight, guys. Before we wrap this up, The Knicks 94, Pacers 86, with 10.5 to go in the fourth quarter. The Knicks lead that series 2-0. And the other series, Denver, Minnesota tonight. Minnesota's up 2-0 on the defending world champion Denver Nuggets. Can Denver get back in this series? The next two games are in Minnesota, and this to me would be a huge upset, seeing the Nuggets eliminated by the Timberwolves, who have not had much success being in the NBA since they joined the league 30 years ago. So that's about it, guys. Again, oh, by the way, before I wrap this up, a little plug. When you're in the Detroit, Michigan area, or you're in the state of Michigan, check out a local Detroit brewery. It's called Atwater Brewery, and check out their website at atwaterbeer.com. Atwaterbeer.com. That's about it, guys. Again, thank you for watching and listening to the Best of Live with CDP Sports Talk tonight with my guest, Jason Dunn, former NFL tight end with Kansas City and Philadelphia. And we'll see you here Monday night. I promise we'll see you here live Monday night, 9 o'clock, with Brendan Glasheen from 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston, and the ESPN play-by-play announcer for the National Lacrosse League. I hope everybody has a great evening, great weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk.